Pneumonic plague is suspected in Serat, India. Hundreds of thousands of people flee within days. Cars, trains, anything with wheels, gone within 72 hours. Doctors, government officials, even hospital staff join the exodus, which is usually a bad sign. International flights out of India were briefly restricted. Neighboring countries considered sealing their borders over a disease that, by the time anyone counted, had killed only a few dozen people. The actual outbreak was real, but the panic did hundreds of millions of dollars in damage on its own. Canceled trade deals, empty flights, and a city that basically shut itself down. Modern antibiotics can treat plague, but nobody waited around to find that out. 10 months after an earthquake already flattened the country, cholera shows up in Haiti. And for a while, nobody could explain why. Health officials were stumped because Haiti hadn't seen this disease in generations. Then genetic testing did something almost forensic. It showed that the strain was closely related to strains circulating in Nepal, while epidemiological evidence pointed to a UN peacekeeping base whose sanitation system had been leaking into a river used by hundreds of thousands of people. Not a metaphorical smoking gun, but about as close as epidemiology gets. More than 800,000 people were infected, and nearly 10,000 died. One broken sanitation system, followed years later by scientists reading bacterial DNA like a paternity test. 600 years before the Black Death, the same bacterium struck the Byzantine Empire. Then, at the height of Emperor Justinian's attempt to reunify much of the former Roman world, plague spread through the empire. Traditional estimates have put the death toll in the tens of millions, but modern research has challenged just how large the demographic impact really was. What isn't disputed is that the outbreak hit the empire's population, economy, and military during a critical period. Historians still debate exactly how much it contributed to the collapse of Justinian's ambitions. Not a battle, not a rival empire, a microorganism nobody could see, arriving at exactly the wrong time. Around 100,000 people died in London during the Great Plague of 1665, roughly 15% of the city's population. While London's public health strategy included quarantining infected families inside their homes and marking infected houses with a red cross, mass graves were dug as deaths mounted. Doctors wore beaked masks stuffed with herbs, genuinely believing bad smells caused disease. For centuries, people also credited the Great Fire of London the following year with ending the plague by killing rats. Convenient explanation. Unfortunately, the evidence doesn't really cooperate. The plague was already declining before the fire, and cases continued afterward. London didn't beat the plague through one lucky disaster. We still don't have a single simple explanation for why it disappeared. Everyone knows the Black Death. Almost nobody knows it had a sequel. Starting in China in 1855, the same species, Yersinia pestis, came back for round 2, riding global shipping routes into port cities on multiple continents. Millions died before it slowed down. This is also the outbreak during which the bacterium was formally identified under a microscope in 1894, ending centuries of doctors blaming bad air and other explanations. Here's the part that should bother you more than it does. The bacteria didn't disappear. It established itself in wild rodent populations on multiple continents and remains in nature today. It didn't get defeated. It got comfortable. The reunion tour. Same bacteria, and by far the most devastating outbreak on this list. From 1347 to 1351, the Black Death killed tens of millions across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. In some European regions, up to 60% of the population was lost. It didn't stop at killing people. The enormous labor shortage changed the balance between landlords and surviving workers, contributing to the decline of serfdom in parts of Europe. Historians debate exactly how direct that connection was, but the economic shock was enormous. One bacterial species, 4 appearances across 13 centuries, and this time, the consequences reached far beyond the people it infected. 6 outbreaks, 1 repeat offender. Bacteria don't hold grudges or make plans. They just move,